Going on, everybody? Today on the block, we have Keisha Brown, a double lung transplant survivor, and she's going to take us on a journey that she took, in a life changing event. Hopefully, she inspires someone as she tells her story of her struggles and, you know, all of that. So, what's going on, Keisha?
Nothing much. Just chilling over here.
How you been doing?
I've been doing wonderful.
That's good. That's good. So, you recently had an appointment. How did that go?
Yeah, I had an appointment on the 19th at Duke, and actually it went good. No signs of rejection, no signs of any type of infection, no type of viral infection or anything like that. So actually it went good. My breathing, I had to do PTF, which is a pulmonary function test, and that's actually stable. It's not going up like they want to go. It's just actually like staying in the middle. But that's probably come from lack of exercise because you have to do a lot of exercise.
Okay. That's good to hear. I'm glad you're doing okay.
Hmm.
So, tell me how it all started. Like, what kind of symptoms did you have, when it first started?
Well, back in 2006, I was always having short of breath, couldn't hardly breathe. Like it was terrible. So actually, I went to my doctor, and she had me go to. I had an MRI done. I had what was it? MRI, X-ray, and I had a biopsy done, and everything showed up nothing. Well, they said it could have been sarcoidosis. It had the same signs and symptoms as sarco. So he was like, come back within a year, we'll do another one. Long story short, we're gonna fast forward. So I was like working one day. I worked at a nursing home, and when I went to work, I felt good. But when I came home, I didn't feel too good. And that particular day when I got sick, it was just like I had like this pain like in my upper back, like it was like, I don't know, burning or something. And when I was working, and if I went outside to get some air, I felt better. But when I came back inside the building, it was just like I couldn't breathe. And then I was pushing this lunch cart and like it was getting heavier. My oxygen level had got down to like, I think it was like 88 or something like that. So that night I came home from work and I laid down, but I couldn't go to sleep. It's like my heart was feeling like it was palpitating. So when I got in the shower, I felt better. But I laid down and I'm like, oh, can't breathe. It's something ain't right. So I told my dog, I was like, well, I got to go to the hospital. I'll be back. So I told myself, I said, if I go to the hospital and the parking lot is full, I'm going back home. So I drove myself to the emergency room, pull up at the emergency room. It was a parking space at the front door of the emergency room. So I parked in the space. I sit there for a while because it was cold outside. So I was like, shoot, I'm already here. I'm out with to get out. So when I went inside the ER, I told them I was like, it's my heart. And next thing I know, they come with a wheelchair. And this is like, I couldn't breathe. I started sweating. And from then, I end up in the hospital. I stayed in there for like 2 weeks. My doctor was like, well, we got to help you. She explained the process to me or whatever. Cause it was like, I wasn't getting any better. Just like, I was just getting worse, getting worse. So she was like, you got to let us put you on the vent. And as she was explaining it to me, I was saying my prayers. So I was like, okay. I was like, well, I walked with God. So I went on the vent for like 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden I just started getting better, getting better, getting better. And I came home on oxygen 2015. I came on oxygen. So then I had to go
So,
back and see my go ahead.
so what did they diagnose you with?
Well, they say it's a interstitial lung disease because I had several biopsy and they want to say it was sarcor, but it wasn't sarcor. I had many biopsies done. Everything came back that it was not sarcor. So they called it a interstitial lung disease.
Mm,
They couldn't really pinpoint and say, okay, hey, it's sarcor. It had the same signs and symptoms as sarcor, but it was, I guess, something different.
okay. So when they told you that, what were your feelings? Like, explain to me
You
that.
know, I really didn't have a feeling. Like I didn't like. I just had no reaction. Like okay, like I don't know. Like at that time, I just didn't have a reaction or a feeling. And
Hmm.
I remember Dr. Ramsam, she told me, she said, I'm gonna refer you to go to Derm to do. I was like, okay. So I was like, well, we can get a second opinion. So I'm thinking I'm going up there to get a second opinion. I didn't
Hmm.
know she was actually sending me up there for referral for to get on the transplant list.
So
So
prior to you, getting to that point, you had to go through a lot of stuff. I know you had to kind of walk around with an oxygen tank and all of that. So how long
mhm.
before you got the word that you had to get a transplant? You know, were you on the oxygen tank, and what happened during that time?
So it was all this happened in 2015. In 2015, that's when I got sick, stayed in the hospital 2 weeks or whatever. You have to do a follow-up appointment. Each time the follow-up appointment is like my breathing was getting worse or whatever. So that's when she told me, okay, well, you have to go to Duke. So I went to Duke or whatever. So it's a process that you have to go to. When you go to Duke, you have to like take these, stay like a week or whatever. You take these different seminars and they tell you about the transplant. They tell you what you have to do, what you can't do. They tell you that you have to raise so amount of money before you even start, the process of it. So you go home, you got plenty of time to like try to raise money. And then eventually, once you raise enough money, you'll relocate up there.
So you get the word. So they were telling you that it's not going to get any better, and you had to
Mm,
have both lungs replaced, basically.
right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you were sitting in that doctor's office and that doctor delivered that news to you, I know it was real to you. What were your feelings like? Did you break down and
So
cry? Did you lose faith?
no, actually, I didn't. I took everything in stride, and this is what because you have to go see counseling and all this type of stuff like that. So I remember when I went to do, and this pulmonologist, he said that you're in stage 4, like that, right? So I said, "Oh, I'm in stage 4." I said, "Well, how long I got to live?" So he was like, "No, no, no, it's not like that." He said the good thing about my disease was that it's a slow processing disease. You can live longer or you can't because it's slowly. It's not like really fast. It's a slow processing disease. So I was like, well, okay. I was like, because you telling me I'm in stage 4, so I'm thinking like, oh, I got 6 months. Let me go have me some fun or something. Like, to me, it was like I told one of the counselor, I said, I said, it's a 50-50 chance. I said, I can not have this surgery and live. I can have the surgery and die. I said, so it's really like a 50-50 chance. I wasn't going to
Hmm.
sit there and like some people say, okay, I got something, I'm going to die or whatever. No, I kept pushing.
So
You
you
keep
kept a
living.
positive
Yeah.
outlook on it at all times.
Mm-hmm. I kept pushing. I kept living. I would go to therapy. I had to do therapy. So I started off therapy down in Greenville first. I would go to therapy with makeup on. They looking at me like, did she come to work out or did she come to look pretty? I wore makeup before I got sick, so I kept wearing makeup. I kept being me.
So you,
I didn't
it was certain
oh
things you had to do before the surgery.
yes. You have to lose weight and you have to
Okay.
like raise money. You have to lose the weight because you have to be a certain weight to get into the surgery. They tell you that, but you really truly don't really have to lose weight. But you know what I'm saying? Like if you're really obese, you got to lose that weight, because they want you as healthy as possible.
Okay. So did you change your
So that's
diet
what
any?
I did. I changed my diet a little bit and I worked out more. Joined the gym, went to the little classes and stuff like that. You just got to get energized.
Okay. So what did you start eating? You start eating less meat or
Well, actually, I only eat chicken, turkey, and fish. So I just started eating small portion of stuff.
okay.
Like, don't try to like overly do it. I just small portions.
Okay. So prior to the surgery, did they put you on any medications or were you on any medications, before that?
Yeah. So after surgery, you'll be on a bunch of medication, and I'm on like it's two main rejection medication, which is mycophenolate, and I take Gengraph, cell cyclosporin. Those are my two major rejection medication. And I also take azithromycin, which is some type of antibiotics, which they use as also for rejection medication. And I take a Tovacor, which is liquid medication to prevent you from getting pneumonia and all that type of stuff like that.
Okay.
And I have
So
been vaccinated.
did you get your booster or you just got the two shots?
Yeah, I got my booster. I got all three shots. So in March, I'll go take another booster shot because when you're taking the the rejection medication is to trick your body into thinking that the body part that's not yours is yours. So your
Mm-hmm.
immune system is shot because it's tricking your brain and your body saying, okay, hey, these organs are yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So going into the surgery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the call. All right. They're gonna move you up to Riley, right? That's what you said, Riley.
Derm. Mm-hmm.
Dur-
Derm.
Ru- Durham, and they set you up in an apartment. How long did you have to stay in an apartment before the surgery?
So actually, in January 2018, me and my mom, and my dad, we relocated to Durham. Um, we started, so we relocated. We started therapy because you have to start therapy. You start therapy. So I start working out, going to therapy every day or whatever. So then after you're halfway through therapy, they told me I was on the list. So
Okay.
I think I really didn't even complete my therapy and I was on the list. So I got on the list in February. And then I think around the middle of February, they called me and they was like, hey, Miss Brown, we got a possible, may have a lung for you. So I was like, okay. So it was just like shock, exciting, and just like, wow, like, is this real? So
Mm-hmm.
we go to the hospital, whatever, and check in. So when you go, you have to check in. They prep you like you're going to have surgery. So then it's come the waiting game. You have to wait to see if the lungs is a match for you, to see if the lungs is any good and all this type of stuff like that. So the first time it was a no go. So we got left the hospital, went back home or whatever. Continue to go to therapy. You continue to work out. You continue to eat right. You continue to do
Okay.
your
So
normal.
so the first time you went and they gave you the word that okay, we got a set of lungs for you, right?
Hmm.
It actually was not a match.
It wasn't a
So
match. No.
so it has to be like a roller coaster of emotions right now. Like, am I gonna ever get a
I,
transplant done?
you know, I still didn't feel that. I still didn't feel like, okay, this is never gonna happen. I'm gonna end up passing away. It's just like it didn't trouble me. You
Okay.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't bother me. It didn't trouble me. It didn't it just was okay.
You
We'll
just
try it again.
stayed focused and motivated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So after that, what happened? You continue
So I was
therapy
doing
and
yeah, we
you,
continue therapy. You continue to do the same thing that you was doing. Um, so the second time they called me, I think me and my mom was in Walmart and they called. So I think we was in Walmart, I'm not for sure. But anyway, the second time they called. So we kind of like took our time. We was like, well, okay, so we learned from the first time. Because first time, you like, oh, we got to get there really fast. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got time to do this. You just, hey, they say come to the hospital. You come right then.
Hmm.
So the second time, we didn't have to rush because we know what to expect, you know?
Okay.
So the second time we went, you had to go through the same procedure. They set you up and prep you like you get ready to have surgery. So they checked, the lungs out. It wasn't a match. So, they send you back home. You continue to go to therapy. You continue to do the same thing.
So the
So
second time it wasn't a match.
no, at all.
Wow. And you still
So
had the same focus.
same
Like
focus.
it didn't bother you.
Right.
Okay.
So we go to
How do you
therapy or whatever.
how do you keep that, that positive outlook?
Well, when you go through a whole lot of stuff in life, you learn a lot of stuff in life. And when you have, my saying is, I walk by faith. So in order to walk by faith, you got to preach it, right? So if you say you
That is
believe in
very
Jehovah,
true.
you believe in, yeah, if you believe in Jehovah, you believe in God, and hey, you know. So I put my trust in him and I gave it to him. And I let his will be done. Whichever way it went, that's how it would have went.
Okay. Okay. So now you're going for a third trial. What's going on? What happened?
Yeah, so we go for the third one. So this time, I think me and my mom we was in Walmart shopping at the time. So the lady called.
So
So
you
she
was in
was like,
Walmart again shopping?
yeah, we was in Walmart again. Walmart was a spot up there. So we was in Walmart at that time. So she called us. She was like, Miss Brown, we think we have a match for you. Then meanwhile, after that, after the second one, the therapy, the lady said 3 times a charm. That's the saying they always use, 3 times a charm. The third time they call you, it's a charm. You might get it. So anyway, we was in Walmart shopping. So we go home. I said, well, Mom, I said, we ain't gonna be in no rush now. She said, take our time or whatever. So I went home and my meal was some oodle noodles. I went home, cooked me some oodle noodles and ate them. Because the last 2 times I didn't eat anything and I had to sit at that hospital to about like 2 in the morning.
Mm. So
And
you
I was
just want little
hungry.
noodles on your belly.
Yes. So I said one thing that will fill you up is some oodle noodles. So we go to the hospital. They do the same procedure. They prep you like you're gonna have surgery or whatever. So you have to wait. And I think it had to been about 2 in the morning when they called me on my cell phone because they'll call you and let you know. They will call you before they call the nurses. So they called me on my cell phone and they told me that it was a match, that it was a go. And
Wow.
so they started yeah, they started prepping me for surgery or whatever. And I think I remember telling my mama, I'll see you when I get back.
Okay. Okay. So were you ever nervous? Like, okay, it's game time
No,
now.
still wasn't nervous. Still wasn't nervous. I don't know what was wrong. I was just still, I don't know. I still wasn't nervous.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So you go
Yeah.
into surgery. So they prep you for surgery and you going into surgery. What's the last thing you remember before, you fell asleep?
Tell my mama I'll see you when I get back. That's it.
And that's it.
That's
Okay.
it. I, I can't even tell you what happened during surgery. I don't even know. I can don't even know.
Okay. So you had to be in the hospital for how long?
So I was in the hospital February the 24th into I remember my birthday. I was in the hospital, which is April 1st. I was in the hospital for my birthday. I think I might have got out about was it May or June I got out of the hospital. I think I stayed in there about 3 or 4 months.
Okay, 3, 4 months. So
Hmm.
what was the first memory you had when you first woke up?
So I was like, I guess I was like half coming through or whatever. All I know, this girl kept coming in the room, which I found out later was my sister. I didn't know who this lady was, but in my mind, I'm like, this lady keep coming in here. Here she go again. Why this lady keep coming in here like that? I didn't know it was my sister. I really couldn't see her face. I just like seen a shadow. And all I
Mm-hmm.
know, this lady just kept coming and kept coming in here, kept coming in here. And I did not know who this lady was, but it was my sister. So I guess she would be the first person that I've seen, but I didn't really see her clearly. I could
Mhm.
just hear her, but I couldn't distinguish who her voice was. I couldn't catch the voice.
Mhm. Well, it's loud enough for everybody to hear that voice.
Right. I do remember the lady taking because I was on the vent and I remember her taking something out of my nose because I had to like breathe over the vent or something. I remember her doing something and she was telling me to breathe.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure what she was doing.
So as you waking up and you hearing your sister and you begin to regain some of your senses, do you feel any pain?
I never felt any pain. Never.
No. Okay. They must
Like
have had you on
I,
some good drugs, huh?
yeah, they had to. I mean, even when I woke all the way up, they kept asking Miss Brown, "Are you in pain? You want some pain medicine? You need some patches?" I'm looking like, no, like I'm not hurting. No, I don't need anything. And they would come in and kept asking me so much. I was like, okay, let me get the patches. And I really didn't even need the patches, but I just went on and got the patches so they'll stop asking me.
Mhm.
And then I think because I was asleep so long that I didn't want to go to sleep.
Mm.
Like I could not go to sleep. They kept saying, Miss Brown, you need to go to sleep. I'm like, nah, I'm not sleeping. Like I guess because I slept so long, I don't even know. But and it's like I had all these crazy like dreams like when I was asleep. Like I said, a whole movie in my head when I was asleep.
Really?
And it had to be all that medication they had me on. Like it was a whole sitcom in my head.
Wow. So you kept yourself
Yes,
entertained.
yes, yes.
So this surgery, they actually had to open you up, right?
Yes, they opened me up. They split me straight down in the middle. And so it's like they cut you and then they pull you back, and they just take out your parts and put new parts in. Like it's a miracle.
Okay, wow. So, and you didn't feel any pain, so they had to staple everything back up and
Yes, staple bolts and screws. So you have a thought the form, right? So in this form, they ask you what type of lungs you want. They have a lung in the box, but it's actually a lung that they put inside a box, and they actually have more time to like really you I don't want to say dissect, but they have more time to look at the lungs, to clean the lungs out good and to look at it and see if it's compatible for you or if it's good for you. Or
mm,
you can get a at risk. At risk meaning the person lung that you may get or body part that you may get, they may did drugs or they may have some type of background.
no,
Or
okay, I
you could say,
got
well, no, yeah. Or you could say, well, no, I don't want that. I'd rather have a certain type.
you.
So it's your choice of what you want. Me, I pick and I picked the at risk because simple fact, you probably will get it quicker than saying, okay, hey, this is what I want. I want this type right here.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
So
okay.
lungs, they don't give you that information, but like you can send them a thank you card and stuff like that. So I just want to say, to the loved one family that donate their organ, I appreciate it and I am forever grateful for that. So, growing up, you really don't understand what the meaning of being a transplant, a donor mean, So growing up, you're like, oh, a donor. But as you get older, you get to understand what's the meaning behind a donor is that you're saving somebody else's life. And that's just important. So, I mean, I think we need to change our outlook and I think we need to be on the donors list, give somebody else a second chance. And I'm grateful for it.
Okay, so you got the at-risk lungs, and they
Mm-hmm.
put them in you, stapled you up, and you didn't have any pain moving from left to right, moving from
No,
side to side, nothing. What about eating?
nothing.
How did you eat? Did you have to eat through a tube, or were you able to eat on your own, or somebody fed you?
No, so they had to do tube feeding for a while because when I think it comes all the way up to your esophagus or something like that. So they have to make sure you pass the eating test. Because some fact, you have to pass the eating test because they don't want the food to get into your lungs. Because if it get into
Mm-hmm.
your lungs, then you can aspirate, you know. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to pass the feeding test. And if you can't pass it, then you have to be tube fed for a while, or you on thickened liquid, which is stuff they put inside your liquid to make it thick so it can go down smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, thin liquid, you can cough or you can aspirate and it can go back into your lungs.
Okay. So you leave in the hospital, right? You get
Hmm.
it's time to go home. Do you have to stay in the area, or how long do you have to stay in the
Yeah.
area?
So you have to stay in the area. Actually, when I left the hospital, I was still on oxygen. Now it's a different stroke for different people. Some people the next day they got up and walked because usually they try to get you up the next day after surgery. They try to get you up the next day
Mm-hmm.
to walk around. That was not the case for me. I found out later that I had to have like I think I had four surgery because they left me open and they had to go back. So getting up the next day wasn't for me. I couldn't get up the next day. So
Mm-hmm.
before you even leave the hospital, you have to walk around the unit. And I think he said you have to do it like 21 times before you can even, you know, get discharged from the hospital. You have to walk. You have to walk, and they actually come to your room and they do therapy with you. And a lot of time after you go through all that trauma, you just really don't feel like doing it. But at the end of the day, you saying, "Hey, I want to go home, so I better get up and walk." To me, the hardest thing ever was learning how to walk again.
Okay, so you
Like
had to
you got to,
relearn that.
yes, you had to learn how to walk because you got to think about it. You laying in that you had a major surgery and you laying in the bed for a long time, so you're losing a lot of muscle mass. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to get your strength back. So PT will come in to help you with that to try to do strength training, try to get your strength back or whatever. And then occupation will
Okay.
come in to help you learn how to take a bath, do stuff on your own, try to get your
Mm-hmm.
independent. But
Okay.
to me, walking was one of the hardest things ever that you had to do.
So how long was it before you felt comfortable walking again?
I was determined. So I kept pushing. I kept pushing. I asked the nurse, I said, "Hey, can we do some range of motions in the bed? Can we do some exercise in the bed?" And they was like, "Yeah, sure." So they would come work with me and do exercise in the bed, range of motion, try to get my legs strong. So they'll come every day to get you up to walk every day to try to get you. If they don't care if you take 1, 2 steps, that's a goal. You reach something.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did start the walking, they let me walk to the step down unit. Because first you're in ICU, and then you go to the step down unit. So when I started walking, they was like, "Oh no, you're gonna walk over there." If you usually come put your wheelchair and they push you over. Me, I walked over there to the next unit.
Okay. So you was really motivated.
Yes.
Okay. So you had to stay in the area, and then you finally get to leave and go home, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what were some of the struggles that you faced? You were still on oxygen for a while, or?
So after I got released from the hospital, I actually came home on oxygen for a little bit. So well, we were still in Durham. So you have to go back to therapy after you come from the hospital. You exercise at home, then you go back to therapy. So once you go back to therapy for a while or whatever, so when I went in there back to therapy, I want oxygen, and they was like, "No, ma'am, you have new lungs. You coming out that oxygen." And therapy people, they want no joke. They ain't sugarcoat nothing, and they push you. And of course, you freak out because you're used to oxygen. I was on
Mm-hmm.
oxygen ever since 2015, so I came dependent on it.
Uh,
So it's like when you don't have it and you've been dependent on it for so long, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Because that's what your mind telling you is that I can't breathe, I can't breathe. When actuality, if you're talking, you're breathing.
mm. So
So
that
it's
was
like,
kind of the mental struggle you
yeah.
had.
Mm-hmm. because you were
Um,
so dependent on that oxygen.
mhm. Mhm. Okay. So after you conquered that, right? So
Hmm.
what was next? What was next in your journey? You got rid of the oxygen, and what was the next challenge that you had to overcome?
My next challenge was driving myself where I wanted to go at, because
So you
like
wanted your
you
own
come home.
independence.
Exactly. Because you can't drive for a while. Because mind you, you
Hmm.
still got staples in you. You got staples all down here. So your staple stays in you for a while. So as long as you got them staples in your body, you can't drive. Somebody got to take
Hmm.
you everywhere you go. So me, I couldn't wait until them staplers came out, because then, hey, I can drive myself.
Okay. Okay. So everything didn't feel stiff or anything trying to
No,
move around.
mm-mm. No, because even when you're doing therapy, you're doing stretch. They make sure you do a lot of stretching, a lot of stretching. So it's like it wasn't gonna get stiff because you doing that therapy and you doing stretching too with the therapy.
Okay.
So
Good. 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 So now you coming up to your year mark, your first year. Um, what are your thoughts like going into after you finish that first year?
my first year, a group of us went out to eat for my first year anniversary, because I'm like, wow, I made it a whole year. So that was
Okay.
super exciting. And you just keep praying for many more years to come. So
Okay.
now
And
I'm about to come on my fourth year. The fourth year, as I found out when I went to my doctor on Wednesday, the fourth year, well, they said the lifespan of a transplant person, they say, is 5 years, but it all depends on the person. If you do everything you're supposed to do, you can live longer than that. So the fourth year, he says, because this is my fourth year, this is around the time that your body may begin to develop a rejection, or may start showing signs of rejection. So you have to continue to push yourself. You got to continue to exercise. You have to just stay away from sick people. You just have to do what you're supposed to do.
in your fourth year, what's the date? To date, 4 years will be what?
I say the 24th, but Preet says the 25th. She say the 25th, 26th, 28th. So I say the 24th, but if your wife, she'll say something different. So I'm really not sure. All I know, I think it's between the 24th and the 25th. That'll be my
Okay.
fourth year anniversary.
Okay. That's good. 4 years. You
Hmm.
know, you definitely are inspiration for others to follow, regardless of what situation they going through. Not necessarily, you know, it may not have to be exactly what you went through, but you're definitely an
Hmm.
inspiration for others to follow. Keep their mind in the right spot and always stay, in a positive mind frame because it's done
Right.
wonders for you. It's done wonders
Yes,
for you.
it is. Yeah.
So
I Go ahead.
no, go ahead. You finish.
So all right. So I learned, as they always say, I understood the assignment or whatever. So this guy named Smallwood, he passed away. He had cancer. When I first met him, he was always smiling, always smiling. And I'm like, why do he always smile? You know? And then when I heard his bio, a little bit about his life, I understood why he smiles so much, and it opened my eyes, and it taught me, like, no matter what you go through in life, continue to smile. No matter how hard it is or whatever, just smile. It'll get better. If it don't get better, it get a little easier. And then you gotta think about it. You got family that's gonna always be there for you. My biggest supporter was my family and my friends. And as long as you got that good support system, you'll be all right.
That's cool.
It's always a story behind a smile.
That's some good advice right there. Great
Hmm.
advice, actually.
Yeah.
So you went to the doctor, right, recently, and your doctor
Hmm.
told you that you had to lose weight?
Yeah, I have to lose some weight because they don't they the smaller you are, the better it are for your lungs because you're lighter and you can breathe better and your lung will have room to expand. The
Hmm.
heavier you are, it's kind of bad for your lungs.
So what's your goal?
So I spoke with a nutritionist the other day. So she told me to watch stuff with sodium. So, and I have to drink more water. She told me to not skip a meal, to eat like 3 or 4 times small food, and to do calorie count.
Hmm.
So I'm trying that.
And how much
And you
weight?
have to stay fit.
How much weight do you want to lose?
So I have to lose 10 pounds within 4 months.
Okay. Okay.
It's
So
doable. If I put my mind to it, it's doable.
it is. It is. So we're gonna ask the viewers to help you. All right. Add some comments,
Mhm.
some tips that Keisha can use so you can lose this weight. And then we're gonna come back on your anniversary date, whether it's the 25th or the 26th, one of them days, right? And then we're gonna
Right.
see where you're at. We're gonna see you
Yeah.
where you're at with the weight loss. All right, sis. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
And it was a pleasure talking to you too.
And I'm glad you took time to share with the world your journey because I'm sure that it's going to inspire a lot of people as they go through, you know, different things in their life as well.
Yes. And I met this man told me him and his brother, they both had lung transplant. So I call him my transplant brother. And he told me, he said, "Girl, you want to give out, but don't give up," or something like that. But I will
That's good.
always take it when I went to therapy. So I was like, okay, well, I want to give up, but I'm not. I be like, I want to give out, but I'm not. You got to keep pushing.
You got
You
that
got to
voice
set
in
a
the back
goal.
of
You
your
gotta
head.
reach. Yes.
Keep
Mm-hmm.
pushing. Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
Keep pushing, no matter what you go through. Keep pushing.
So, last question before we go. So, I'm sure you have like a scar, right?
Yeah.
What
Hmm.
I guess what did you use? Cocoa butter, any type of lotion to help kind of reduce the scar mark?
Well, they say you can use. They tell you to use cocoa butter, but you still gonna have some scars. It's not gonna 100% disappear because it's still gonna show.
Okay.
And see,
Okay.
my scar is like right in my chest, so you know whatever shirt I have on, it don't bother me. If it be shown, it's people see it, they see it, it don't bother me because at the end of the day, hey, I'm here. Some
Okay.
people might feel self conscious, but I don't.
That scar represents a lot.
Exactly.
All right. The block is hot. You got it blazing hot with our talk. So we about to be out.
Peace.